Good morning, everyone. Namaste. I'm going to call in Archangel Michael to cleanse this space, to clear out all negative and lower vibrations from our mind, body, and soul, home, and hearts. And we're also going to call in Nikola Tesla because we're going to be reading about my invention of the autobiography of Nikola Tesla. And we are still on part 1, and this is about his earlier life. It says, during another period, I smoked excessively, threatening to ruin my health. Then my will asserted itself, and I not only stopped, but I destroyed all inclination. Long ago, I suffered from heart trouble until I discovered that it was due to an innocent cup of coffee I consumed every morning. I discontinued it at once, and so I confess it was not an easy task. In this way, I check and brittled over habits and passions that have not only preserved my life, but derived me of immense amount of satisfaction from what most men would consider privation and sacrifice. After finishing the studies of the Polytech Institute and University, I had a complete nervous breakdown, and while madly lasted, I observed many phenomena and strange, unbelievable. And that doesn't shock me, so it sounds like he might be going through like a dark night of the soul, which a lot of people at that point start to question everything, and especially because he's been going into meditation, he's been astral traveling, so he's starting to unify with his higher self, which makes a lot of sense to me. So let's move on to part 2. It says, my first efforts in invention. It says, I shall dwell briefly on these extraordinary experiences on account of their possible interest to students of psychology and physiology, and also because the period of agony was the greatest consequence of my mental development in subsequent labors. But it is indispensable to first relate to the circumstances and the conditions which preceded them, and which might be found their partial explanation. From childhood, I was compelled to concentrate attention upon myself. This caused me so much suffering, but to my present view, it was a blessing in disguise, for it has taught me to appreciate the inestimable value of introspection in the preservation of life, as well as the means of achievement. The pressure of occupation and the innocent stream of impressions pouring into our consciousness through the gateway of knowledge makes modern existence hazardous in many ways. Most persons are absorbed in their contemplation of the outside world that is wholly obvious to what is passing on within themselves. The premature death of millions is primarily traceable to this cause, even among those whose exercise and care is a common mistake to avoid imaginary and ignore the real dangers, and that what is true of an individual also applies more or less to people on the whole. So I'm going to leave that at that. The more I read this, the more I think he's going through a spiritual awakening. Because that's a lot of what you do when you're in a spiritual awakening. And I know because I started going through one. I have indifferences about when I started to go through them. Sometimes I think it's beginning of 2020, and then other times I think it started in like 2012, 2013. So anyways, if you don't know what a spiritual awakening is, it's kind of like wakening up to what is really going on in this world, and you're obtaining oneness with your higher self and oneness with everybody else. So I hope this helps. I love you all. Have a blessed day, and namaste.